Hello and welcome to our webinar. My name is Rachael and I'm the Director of Industry Advancement with the Events Industry Council, and I'm thrilled to welcome you today to our virtual Global Meetings Industry panel on mind and body, mental and physical well-being. We wanted to start our GMID programming today talking about this important topic because this really is a time of unprecedented change for all of us in the industry. And I know that a lot of people are feeling a lot of stress and anxiety and are looking for ways that we can incorporate wellness into our lives as well as into our events as we plan them for the future. So we'll be looking at both of those themes today. I'm thrilled to welcome our panelists today, Stephanie Harris, President of the Incentive Research Foundation, Johnny Martinez, Head of Marketing and Business Development with Shocklogic, and Rachael, the WellBeing Leader with Maritz Global Events. So we'll start off with a few technical announcements first. So if we can move to the next slide. So first, if I'd like to make note that we have a couple of options for you to interact with our audience as an audience. We do have the Q&A functionality that you can use, and when you use that, you can also upvote other questions. This will help us at the end of the webinar in order to be able to identify the questions that we'll be asking to our panelists. I'm also going to mention first that we have a closed captioning option available. If you would like to activate the closed captioning, please look at the bottom of the screen and you'll see the CC button and you can activate it that way. We also encourage you to have peer-to-peer conversations in the chat function. As well, please know that we will be making this recording available after the fact. You will be able to earn a continuing education credit for attending this session as well. So if we can move to the next slide, please. So I'll again welcome our panelists, Stephanie, Johnny, and Rachael. And we're actually going to start with Johnny, who will be taking us through some guided breathing exercises. Thank you.
No worries. So first of all, I would like to invite everyone to find a comfortable position, whatever you are, whether you're sitting on a chair or whether you're sitting on your bed. And make sure that your back is straight. And when you're ready, close your eyes. And ground yourself to this moment. The idea of this exercise is that we focus on our breathing. We focus on this present moment. And we let everything else go. There's nothing else to do right now. Take a few deep breaths in and out. If it helps, count to 4 when you inhale and then count to 8 when you exhale. And remind yourself that you're here, that you're living, that you're breathing. If you can't close your eyes, at least concentrate on your breathing. The breathing is the anchor that keeps us here, that keeps us present, free of judgment. If you have a little thought that comes in, just note it and let it go. And concentrate on the breathing. Relax your shoulders. Relax your neck. And continue breathing in your natural rhythm. The intention for this webinar is to check in with each of ourselves, how we're doing, to check in how I'm feeling right now. As you breathe out, you may let the concerns go, and you may let any thoughts simply fade away. And we invite everyone to think about their well-being and think about what you want to achieve out of this session. Take a few more deep breaths. Some final deep breaths. Letting everything go. Come back to where you are. Wiggle your fingers and toes a little bit. And when you're ready, open your eyes. And we will continue with the rest of the session.
Thank you, Johnny. That was great. Great way to start. We are going to start with a poll. So the first question is, what do you want to get out of this webinar? And just submit your answers and we'll share the results. Okay, can we see the results, please? Look at that. A lot of different interest in this webinar, so that's great. We're going to ask another question. How are you feeling? Put this answer in and we'll share that as well. We're all over the board right now, and that's reasonable and understandable given what we're all going through. Okay. So we're going to start off and share some of our own personal stories so you can get to know the three panelists. So Stephanie, you want to start?
Absolutely. So, we talked a little bit when we were preparing this about why we were interested in wellness and what wellness really means to us, both personally and in context of the industry. So, for me, I've been in the industry quite a while, and over the last 25 years or so, I've seen a lot of industry professionals, meeting planning professionals, really put themselves at that front line and prioritize taking care of their attendees, of their customers, often at great personal expense to their own wellness. And I've watched that stress of meeting planning really have both mental and physical effects on friends, on coworkers, and employees. So, I became really interested in working to understand and work with people to really take care of themselves while we're all such kind of people pleasers and we're all such perfectionists that, we often forget ourselves in doing what we love to do. So, for me, that's really where the interest in wellness comes into play. Johnny?
Yeah, when we were discussing, exactly why this was such an important topic for us, I think I personally battled with, depression and anxiety a few years ago. And I just didn't really know how to deal with it. I was also riddled with addictions. And mindfulness was the tool that saved me. And that allowed me to, ground myself and understand that I'm still here. So through that, and obviously doing a lot of therapy, understanding that there's no shame in talking to someone else about your problems. And there's also no shame in knowing exactly what we have to do right now. So I, as a young person and as a millennial, I also, encourage other young people out there to, step forward and acknowledge when they need some sort of support. So the invite is also to, young people out there to reach out, young event professionals. They may be going through different crises. They may be followed right now. And that's what we're passionate about. And currently at Shocklogic, at the professional level, we organize weekly sessions within our teams, within our departments. We do similar breathing exercises to the one I did just now. And we have a number of values that we follow that, really help us all to remain connected to the organizational structure. Those are some of the things that help us a lot. And, this same breathing exercise, we broadcasted to the whole company on Wednesdays. And, it does help everyone to, to be here and to take a moment for themselves. And that's, the big reason why I'm interested in wellness.
Great. Thanks, Stephanie and Johnny. My journey started back when I was a young child. I was very overweight and had to realized I had to change my lifestyle. And I went to school and studied exercise physiology, and I wanted to run a corporate wellness center. That's what I want to do all my college career, and I went to work for the Association for Fitness in Business. And I wanted to run the Apple Corporate Fitness Center. And then I fell in love with meetings and events. And I have been toggling between the two careers or two industries my entire career, and have really seen both sides of the meetings industry as well as some really cool aspects of the wellness business. And about 3 years ago, I approached Maritz Global Events and I said, I've observed that some of the younger folks in the PCMA world, NPI world, all the industry worlds and the various conferences that I plan and attend, they take in events very differently. And so we started looking at that and doing some research, internal, external, in front of the customer advisory board. And here I sit today as the well-being leader for Maritz Global Events, because my mission and my goal is to try to help and support event professionals to integrate well-being not only for themselves but also for their attendees. And I say well-being because we'll get into that a little bit later, but it's a bigger story than physical fitness. It's a whole person approach. And so this has been a lifelong passion for me, and I am so excited to see my two professional loves come together into the job that I'm doing now for Maritz Global Events. So let's get into our content today. You can advance the slide, please.
Thanks, Rachael. So annually, the Incentive Research Foundation does a study in conjunction with Preview Magazine, and we present the results at the Meet Well event in January. And it looks at both the stress and level of wellness in meeting planners themselves, as well as kind of the state of wellness in meetings overall. So we're going to look at both aspects of the survey today. We're going to start with the results of the meeting planner survey. And within this study, we saw that 2/3 of the respondents indicated that the stress of meeting planning has a quote, incredible impact in their lives, using the word incredible. And that was up over 10% from the prior year. So, we see in that even in the best of times, because I think we'd agree that meeting planning and meetings and events were really in a upswing over the last few years. So kind of in the best of times, this is a very stressful role. So if we go to the next slide, we asked people in the survey how they take care of themselves and what they do to maintain their own personal wellness. So Liz, if we can advance the slide. Thank you. So you'll see here that planners take a lot of different approaches to take care of themselves. On site, we see the most prominent being basic things like staying hydrated and maintaining a positive attitude and eating well. And, I will say that maintaining a positive attitude, again, is really important, but can come at the expense of your own kind of mental state. So it's important that you're balancing that with real self-care. And we do see some of that coming through with people planning ahead and really carving out time to take care of themselves, making sure that they get rest, really, protecting their sleep on site. So I think what's important is that we note that while we have some of these coping mechanisms, we're now in this very different place where the stress is further complicated by our current situation. And instead of running toward meetings and events that we're busily putting together, now we're faced with moving and changing and in some cases canceling events that people have really put their heart and soul into, which can be really devastating. So I think today is a good chance to stop and think about, your own personal wellness, where you're at with your job on a normal basis, but where you are when it comes to this current situation. And I think Johnny brought our consciousness to that with the breathing exercises. But now we're going to talk a little bit about this in context of safety, sustainability, and wellness.
Yes, thank you, Stephanie. So we're going to discuss 3 topics today in 2 different lenses. So we're going to talk about safety, sustainability, and well-being from a personal perspective first. We'll talk about what you can do today to stay on track, keep focused, and how you can help yourself and your family. After we look at all 3 personally for you, we're going to look at them and how we move the industry and how it moves forward. We look into the future, and as we recover from this devastating event, how we can think about event planning through these 3 professional lenses to get us back to where we have our attendee trust and know that they feel cared for when they're attending our events. Okay, so if we could advance the slide, Liz. For ourselves, we're going to, Johnny, if you want to talk about safety.
Yeah, thank you, Rachael. I think the first thing when we talk about ourselves, something that we say very often at Shocklogic is you need to put your oxygen mask first. And I think that applies to everything that we do these days, especially when we think about, first of all, our health and everything that we need to do to make sure that we're healthy and that other people are not getting affected by, a possible virus. All of those measures, all of those habits, how do we put that into place? How do we build a routine? This is one of the reasons why I promote and encourage mindfulness for individuals. It's also because you continue to work on yourself. Whenever you feel there's something really stressing you out and you're about to blow up, what can you do to, keep yourself safe? As we travel through these new formats and these new ways of doing things, we need to learn how to protect ourselves online as well. And, this goes into a completely different topic, but what can each of us do personally to protect, our data and the information that we're sharing out there, so that when we come into this kind of meeting, we don't have to deal with any interruptions or, people trying to share content that might be very unsafe for people out there, including kids. And now we're looking at our families, we look at our friends, what is it that we need to do to keep them safe. And I think, this also complements really well the other two sides that we want to look into, which is sustainability and also well-being, that Stephanie and Rachael will be talking about.
Thank you. So I'll talk a little bit about sustainability. And sustainability is a tremendous focus for the Events Industry Council. There are quite a few fantastic resources on the site if you have not spent time there. From a personal perspective, I think right now we're all kind of living in a time of restricted access to a lot of the goods and services that we're used to having easy access to. So, practicing sustainability has really never been more at the forefront. I'm going to look at 3 areas. Honestly, we could have 3 webinars about sustainability alone, just in the current time. So I'm going to look at reducing waste. We think about the scarcity, and if we need something and we go to Instacart and it's 4 days, 5 days, 7 days before things can get delivered, and you're making those choices, we're becoming more conscious about how we use everything. And I see that throughout the 6 people I currently have in my household with me today, whether it's minimizing use of paper towels, trying to reduce waste, trying to really manage what we need so that we're taking care of ourselves, to the safety point that Johnny was just talking about, but that we're being respectful consumers during this time. And this pandemic, I think, has raised a lot of people's awareness of that. The other area is climate change. Climate change is an inherent part of sustainability, and it's become a positive byproduct of this pandemic, which I think is fascinating. And while I don't know that this is long term, I mean, once we're free to move about again, I think we'll see some of those impacts start to come back. But what can we do? What habits can we create right now that can become more part of our normal day as we go through this experience? I see more people riding bikes and walking than I ever have in the 15 years of living in this neighborhood. I didn't know I had so many neighbors. So I think some of those habits and some of those sustainability practices can really start to become a positive outcome of what we're all dealing with today. And I see a lot of efforts, whether it's in social media, whether it's in emails, groups that I'm getting together and Zooming with, where people are trying to find and identify those positive pieces. So, across sustainability, I would say the final piece is that sense of equality, sense of whole, sense of community, where, we are all just trying to really live in a way that allows people with the greatest need to get those elements that are important to them, whether it's medical services or food or supplies. Those habits, again, those things that we're kind of forced to consider today, are it's an opportunity for us to really develop that and start to shift our mindset and carry those things into our lives when we return to relative normal. Rachel?
Thanks, Stephanie. And my portion of this is well-being. And I mentioned it earlier, and I really believe that we need to think about more than just our wellness and our physical wellness. Yes, we need to keep our bodies moving and keep active. That is no more true today than it ever has been. But we also have to look at the bigger picture, and that's well-being. And it helps to create a more balanced person. You can look at your well-being in a lot of different ways. So you can look at it from a mental perspective, and we all know it's a hard time mentally right now. Who doesn't want to get out of the four walls of their own house? But what well-being does is also creates a focus. It supports others, it connects you with others, and keeps you expanding your mind. You have to, like I said earlier, you have to take care of your own body and exercise and protect your sleep and your eating. You've got to make sure you eat right. And right now we have the time to really focus on those things. I am very grateful for the time we have with our families as well, and making sure that they're eating healthy. In terms of apps and exercise opportunities, there's some really great apps out there that offer some great. Orange Theory is one. Core Power Yoga is offering some great yoga classes, and there's so many. The Nike running app, and then take this time to focus on your physical well-being. Hopefully, there will never be another time to give you some of yourself back to yourself. I'm not saying that correctly, but we have this downtime. Take it, use it, focus on your own personal well-being, connect with others, reach out, stay engaged with friends, network with industry friends. I am hugely proponent of staying connected with people, even if it's virtually. Taking notice, like we just did with Johnny, that was amazing. Thank you, Johnny. Slow down. If you want to get into mindfulness and start practicing that a little bit more, don't expect it to be something that you can flip a switch on. It takes work. You need to think about it, read about it, practice it. It's not easy. Another opportunity to enhance your own well-being at this time, and this is one that is really near and dear to my heart, is giving back. And there's a lot of simple ways that we can support the front line, the grocery workers, all the people that are taking care of us right now. My neighborhood and I, we delivered food over to a hospital, to our local hospital, to the ER team. We've done it once a week for the last couple of weeks. And it's, it makes, when you give to others, it makes you feel better. And then finally, keep learning. That when you expand your mind, take your mind off your work and learn new things, that just really lets you release some stress, quite honestly. Use the time to teach yourself some new things. Khan Academy is great. I've been trying to learn how my kids learn math nowadays on Khan Academy, but there's also lots of different opportunities. Yale is offering free college courses online, so take this time to do that. Okay, now we're going to, are there any questions? Chat away, feel free. We have some questions here. Okay, let's see.
I've had some questions come in actually, and one of them is, what are some practical things that you can do to help stay grounded during these challenging times? I think you mentioned a few of them, but maybe if we can have each of you say what's the number one thing that you would recommend for that helping people to stay grounded right now.
I can. Go ahead, Johnny. Go ahead.
I mean, I was going to. I have mentioned to quite a few industry friends the mobile apps that I use for the guided breathing exercises, because you don't have to do this in absolute silence. You can do it with someone talking to you and guiding you through the exercise. So I use Calm, CALM, and the other one, which is very popular, is Headspace. So those two run free and paid mindfulness meditation exercises for any levels. In any way, at the end of the session, I will do the final breathing exercise, which helps to ground ourselves in relation to other people. But that's my suggestion.
Go ahead, Steph.
Yeah. So I would say similarly, I'm trying to just take moments during the day. I'm really purposefully, I have that whole planning mentality. So I very purposefully put reminders in my phone to just stop and take a moment and really force myself to actually step away from the laptop, go outside. My dog has never been so walked, bless her. So those are the kinds of things I think that, I'm just taking moments for me, because a lot of people are new to working from home. I've been doing it for, it's 12 years now, 10 years now. So I have a bit of a routine. I'm not used to doing it with so many people in the house. So it's a new challenge for me in that way. But I think when you transition to work from home, it is always here. It is difficult to stop and step away, and you do need to develop that habit where you force yourself to step away. I think that's really important, and give a moment to you.
Agreed. And for me, what I'm finding that is really helpful, like Stephanie, I've worked from home for my whole, for the last 20 years, and it's part of my routine. But I have 2 teenagers, and I have to get outside sometimes. And my dog's been walked a lot, but I'm finding that I have a breathing exercise that I do that I really like. It's called 4-7-8. And it's, you breathe in for 4, you hold it for 7, and you let it out for 8. And do that 5 times. And I do that before I go on stage when I'm presenting. It always kind of calms me down.
Thank you all for your comments there. If we can move to the next slide. I'll pass it to Stephanie.
Thank you. So as I noted, there were 2 parts of the study that we conduct annually. One looks at planners, one looks at wellness in meetings themselves. So as you see in the visual on the slide, one of the biggest findings this year is that we continue to see growth in the gap between stated focus on wellness in organizations and the willingness to incorporate wellness into meetings and events for those same organizations. And it's an interesting dichotomy, because you see that 86% of the internal planners and 68% of the third-party planners said, wellness was a really critical focus for either their organization or the organization that you're working with. But then when you look at the other side, you see a significantly smaller number of organizations that were willing to accept costs to incorporate wellness into their meetings and events. And that was around food and beverage, that was around activities, around a lot of people, around a lot of those elements. So if we go to the next slide, you see that there were a lot of common objections related to the budget piece of that. And it's understandable, and that will continue and probably intensify as organizations work to recover on the back end of our current situation. So there are a lot of ways to overcome that expense hurdle and incorporate wellness. And one of the things we did at MeetWell was really sit and talk about how can we put wellness into events in what we call sneaky wellness, in a sneaky way. It's not, it doesn't have to be this big pronounced part of what you do, but there are ways to incorporate it. Crowdsourcing activities is a tremendous way to do that. You may have a Johnny in the crowd or a Rachael in your attendee mix who know how to lead people through guided meditation, or yoga, who are just interested in taking people on nature walks in the morning, depending on where you are. Mobile apps are a part of almost every event. They're a tremendous way to be able to create wellness challenges, whether it's a simple step challenge or something more complicated where you're incorporating a QR code hunt throughout, maybe you're at a resort or a large meeting venue in Vegas where, you know, you're already walking a bunch. You can incorporate a QR code hunt so that people find the QR code, scan it, there's a contest over time, you know, they're winning something at that event. That's a really small, fun, sneaky way to incorporate wellness and get people up and moving around at breaks throughout your event. So there are a lot of different ways that you can work to incorporate it, and a lot of creative ideas out there. The other piece of this is that, you know, we did ask specifically about incentives because we are the Incentive Research Foundation. And I was really encouraged to see that the majority of incentives today, when it comes to the on-site activities, have included some wellness-centric options, which is really exciting to see. And it could be as simple as utilizing the spa on site, but a lot of it is taking advantage of the inherent activities that are part of the resort's offerings. So that was really encouraging to see. So we're going to stop and take a moment now to look at events in the context of safety, sustainability, and well-being, and I'm going to start with safety. So, you know, we're on pause right now as an industry, and as we start to come back, there will never be a more critical time to consider the safety of ourselves, of our fellow planners, and of our attendees. You know, we're all doing it right now by taking care of ourselves and sheltering in place and taking care of our communities by doing that. When we're able to meet again in person, a lot of new considerations will come into play. And I think we'll see more and more information about that. I think we're all just starting to kind of wrap our heads around what a new world of meetings and events might look like. Pretty high on our list of considerations, and I can't cover everything that we've talked about or that came to mind, but there are going to be a few kind of critical pieces. One is just ensuring adequate on-site medical professionals available, you know, whether that's through the property that we're working with, local resources. There are meetings and events, physician services like CrowdRx or in-house physicians, and that will be incredibly important if you're traveling outside of the country or to a place where people are less comfortable with the medical care. We're going to have to think differently about how we staff medical care at our events. There is an entire discussion that awaits around health screening. We were talking yesterday, our chief research officer and I were talking about rapid health screening and the role that will play in the future of meetings and events. And what becomes very interesting there is the intersection between rapid health screening and privacy. I think that's going to be a big conversation as we move forward to understand how do we manage the safety of our employees and understand the relative risk that we have within our events, but still protect the privacy of the individuals who are attending that meeting. So that's an area of consideration. We'll also need to look at creating a new sense of space, you know, around things like registration, maybe more use of online printed home, initially at least reconsidering seating plans. There will likely be a resurgence of conversation around hybrid meetings. And it's important to remember that not every meeting can be turned into a virtual meeting. And I think we've all experienced that in our personal lives. A lot of us had a holiday over the last weekend, and we tried to get together with our families via Zoom. I know my family had an hour-long kind of happy hour. We played a trivia game. We all caught up with one another. It was not the same. You know, it creates a sense of togetherness in a way, but not, it didn't complete that for me. So not every event can be made virtual, and it's very important to be incredibly thoughtful about that and to be really honest with meeting owners, with stakeholders about what will make for a successful transition to a hybrid event or the virtual element of a hybrid event, and what must remain live. I think we'll need better guidelines around that for all of us to follow, some industry standards that we can refer to, but also be open to creativity inside of that. And then finally, I think we just all need to be mindful of the incremental stress and extreme caution with which people will approach one another in the coming months. I mean, I don't know if any of you are like this, but I'm absolutely triggered when I see groups of people hugging each other on television or when I watch a movie. It's the strangest feeling. I'm like, you all are not following social distancing. It's a very odd feeling. So I think when we're coming out and getting back together, there will be this sense of hesitation. So how do we create environments and interactions that are comfortable for people, but still accomplish our goals? So just a few things to start that thought process around meetings. So Rachael?
Great. Thanks, Stephanie. I'm going to take on sustainability in this context of focusing in our events. So we all have to, in addition to the health safety, organizations now more than ever are going to look at the solid reasons for events. And we all are starting to become more in tune with the UN Sustainable Development Goals. And we have to look at all of the different aspects of those goals. But I think the biggest one is the solid reason for the event. And Stephanie alluded to that. Yes, there is a huge need for face-to-face, but when is that, what is that tipping point? And because of what's happening in the world, the demand to look globally and how we affect the world is being questioned, and sustainability is becoming more a common discussion for meetings and events. Just prior to COVID-19, there were groups expressing concerns about attending events due to the climate impact. And COVID demonstrates how vulnerable we are as the world, and how globalization has changed our world both positively and negatively. So we have to look at how we're, the reasoning behind why we're holding a meeting. Prior to Maritz, I worked for a destination. We had a couple of groups that had some groundswells of attendees that were questioning why they're traveling that long to to attend the meeting, and trying to make an impact on people's decisions to attend. So it was something that I found very interesting. Prior to COVID, I would have, in my wildest dreams, not thought that somebody would have that kind of grassroots effort to affect the attendance of a meeting. But it was starting to happen. And I think with COVID-19 and what it's doing to how we think about things, we're going to really have to think about more about the sustainable practices that we have at meetings. So we could go on, like Stephanie said, on several different webinars about this for a very long time, but we're just trying to plant seeds of things that you have to think about going in post COVID-19. So Johnny, you want to talk about well-being?
Yeah, thank you, Rachel. I think, yeah, it is very, very key, everything we've highlighted today. I think what's very interesting is that obviously out of COVID, we've had to build communities. We've had to find ways to still reach out to people and use the technology to do so. And obviously at the same time there are, many people out there that still need the support. And I've seen some very good initiatives for all those that follow the Delegate Wranglers Facebook groups. They have a group dedicated to the US and Canada, and then a bigger group which originally started in the UK. And they have, dedicated some spaces there for, freelancers, suppliers to promote some of the services that they typically offer. And it's just so valuable to see so many people engaged in wanting to help other people. And I think this is something that we will continue to see. But at the same time, as we, we are considering events and obviously our attendees, I think we will all become more demanding when it comes to, making sure that we are okay at the event. And I think something that is very relevant is to, during this period, whether we want to call it a pause, whether we want to call it reinventing ourselves, or the transformation of our industry as a whole, it is very key that we start checking with our audiences, with our members, what are the things that they have become interested in, and what are the things that will push this industry forward. And I think by crowdsourcing some of that content, by checking in with our members, with our audiences, we'll be able to have a good idea on what's actually relevant for these individuals right now. Something that I've seen, and we've partnered with Helen Moon in different initiatives, is having spaces online and plan for those physical activities in the future, but engage in Twitter chats and engage in online conversations with other event professionals, to make sure that we all keep on top of what's going on. There is so much information going through that it can be really, really hard to keep up with everything going on out there. So if you select a few channels that are helpful for you, then it will help you just focus on that, and identify what's the right channel for you to follow. Don't overwhelm yourself with information. That's my suggestion.
Thank you all so much. We're going to move on to the Q&A section of our webinar now. So if we can advance to the next slide. And we have had a few questions come through, specifically around, the first one is on sleep. Are there recommendations that you have about helping people to sleep when there's in a time such great worry? I'll start maybe with Rachael on this one.
Sure. Thank you. Good question. I was actually at one point in my career on the launch team of the drug Ambien and did sleep education all over North America. And it was fascinating to sit and hear stories about people and their sleep. And one of the things that I find today that everybody does is they have their phone by their bed. And I get that it's an alarm clock, and I understand it. But if you could put it on the other side of your bed and put do not disturb, or other side of your room, and put do not disturb, that would be great, because you're getting not only that, oh, I can just reach for it, but you're also getting the light from the screen. If it pops up and it wakes you up, that can keep you waking up at night and you don't even know it. So simple, practical things. Another thing that's really good, and you have to like the smell of it, is lavender. Essential oils are really good. I love putting essential oils, as weird as this sounds, on the bottom of my feet, because that's how it gets into your bloodstream the quickest. So essential oil is a very calming oil, and it can promote sleep. So those are my 2 tips. If anybody else has some tips.
Johnny?
Yes. In some of the apps that I've recommended, Calm, for example, has some fantastic sleep guided meditation exercises. Some of them narrated by people like Matthew McConaughey, Stephen Fry. So whether it is easier for you to sleep while you're listening to a story, or whether it helps to have a background noise. For example, I sleep really well with the fan on because I really like the white noise of the fan. I know other people that use rain, water for similar purposes. So you don't even have to meditate, but perhaps just run the background music. I know a lot of people manage to sort of sink into their sleep while they have that running. But I really recommend some of the programs that are included in some of these meditation apps, because they will even allow you to scan your body from head to toe. And while you're doing that, your body naturally goes into sleep. So you can set it for 10, 15, 20 minutes if you want.
And before I move to Stephanie, I just wanted to follow up on the question about apps. Are there recommended apps that are free to use? Or does anyone have suggestions on some crowdsourcing that we might be able to develop for our community at this time? And I'll start with Rachael. You're nodding your head first, so I'll start there.
Headspace and Calm are the 2 that I love for meditation and guided meditation. I mentioned Core Power Yoga. They do obviously yoga, but they're also doing some weights to get your body moving more. Orange Theory is all about more of the full body workout. I mean, there's an app for everything, as we all know. And right now, those non-essential services are trying to engage with their customers and through apps. So there's a lot of great ones out there. I think we should put a list together and put it as a follow-up to this session, because I could go on for hours.
Sorry.
Well, the other interesting thing that's happening right now is if you've looked at an app previously, but it was, paid or too expensive, so many organizations right now are offering their apps for free. It's worth going back to look again to see if that app that you were kind of interested in trying is now available at free or no cost, because there are a lot of those offers out there.
Excellent, thank you. And Stephanie, my next question is for you. How, in your experience, does overall wellness affect a person's ability to perform in the job?
So I've seen it happen in a lot of ways, and I've had the personal experience of, just not stopping enough during the course of an event, the run-up to an event, and then during the event itself, not stopping and giving myself that space to take care of myself, letting everything build to the point where, it just takes you down on site, whether it's not responding appropriately to what may be a small problem. You've had so many small problems that your response to that is disproportionate to just having full on-site meltdowns. I've seen it, done it myself. So it is really, really critical to every day check yourself, every day take those moments to walk away. When you are in the situation that a lot of us are in right now, where the stress is inherent, I see a lot of people in the chat talking about the fact that they're furloughed or laid off and looking for a job and having to chase their negative thoughts away. That's a space where you do need to give to yourself every day. And I saw someone say, I put mini goals down every day for myself. That's a phenomenal way to stay focused on the job at hand and to be able to do what you need to for yourself and set yourself up for success in performing your job.
Thank you so much, Stephanie. And we're just going to go to our last poll just for a quick second. One of the things, as you know, as meeting professionals, we like to measure impact, so before and after. So we're going to actually ask the same question again. So how are you feeling? Can you tell us a little bit about your level of anxiety versus calm? And we'll take a moment to take that information, and then we'll share that as well. If we can go ahead and share the results on that. So it's nice to see that we're actually seeing some movement towards the calm area of the spectrum. And I think it's really important to remember that we really are a community, and we are here to support each other. Hopefully we've left you with some tools that you can apply. But before we wrap, we're just going to ask Johnny to guide us through another breathing exercise, and then we'll give you some information about your continuing education hours.
Thank you, Mariella. Yeah, I would like to get everyone to relax for one last time. Close your eyes if you can. And connect yourself with the present moment. Take a deep breath. If it helps to count to 4 when you inhale and then to 8 when you exhale. And again. So we're going to continue the natural rhythm of our breathing. And we're going to think about today, Global Meetings Industry Day. I would like everyone to think about someone that you appreciate in the industry, someone you're grateful for, someone that makes you smile. And as you continue breathing, I want you to repeat the following phrase. May you be happy. May you be free. May you be healthy. May you be at peace. Breathing in and out. May you be happy. May you be free. May you be healthy. May you be at peace. So we'll continue the natural breathing. And we extend that feeling of gratitude to all event professionals out there. May you be happy. May you be free. May you be healthy. May you be at peace. So when you're ready, come back to the room. Take one last deep breath. Open your eyes. and we say Namaste. Thank you.
Thank you very much to all of our panelists. I'd like to express my deep gratitude to all of you for sharing your insights and your ideas. If we can move to the next slide, just a quick note about your continuing education credits. They will be uploaded for you automatically, and you'll also receive an email that you can upload should you need to do so. Thank you again to everyone. We do have additional resources available on our website if you're looking for additional information. And this webinar will also be posted for you to access later on. Please do check the links in the chat if you'd like to see the infographics. And thank you again for all of your time today, and gratitude to everyone for participating. That concludes today's webinar. Thank you.